Charleston County School District's highest priority is keeping its students and staff safe and protected at all times, at every school, facility, and event. To deliver on that commitment, the district's Office of Security and Emergency Management, with assistance from multiple departments and offices throughout CCSD, employs a variety of methods and approaches. In this updated CCSD 101 video about school security, we will discuss the initiatives in place to maintain the highest level of safety for everyone entrusted into our care. Hello everyone, I'm Andy Pruitt, CCSD's Director of Communications, joined by our Executive Director of Security and Emergency Management, Michael Reidenbach, a CCSD alum and former law enforcement officer with experiences as both a college campus police officer and a school resource officer in our district. Michael, we appreciate you taking the time to speak with us on this topic. We made a video like this 4 years ago. Since then, we've made some updates and changes, so we figured it was time to do another CCSD 101 video on school security. First up, the expansion of the random search program to our middle schools. We started with that initiative with high schools in 2019, but added middle schools in the spring of 2025. Can you provide a brief description of the random search program and explain why middle schools are now part of it?
Since 2019, the random search program has given us the ability to enhance our ability to detect contraband that may have made its way into one of our high schools. And ultimately, through that increased detection, we hope that that then deters students from bringing contraband in the first place. And so the random search program is designed to help us identify any prohibited items on the campus, such as weapons, drugs, vape materials, alcohol, and do so in a way that is completely random. And so over the years, as we look at incidents that have happened in schools across the country, as we look to enhance our school safety program, we have heard from parents in the middle schools. We have heard from middle school communities that said, you know, we have some of those same concerns in our middle schools as well. Can we have some of those benefits of the program? So because of that, starting in the spring of 2025, we started expanding the random search program into the middle schools, and we'll continue to do that into the 25-26 school year so that we can continue to increase our ability to detect contraband in our schools or prohibited items and ultimately deter students from bringing those items into the schools. As the name suggests, the random search program is completely random. So if you think about entering a government building where you have a metal detector set up at the front door, during the random search program, we just bring that setup to you, wherever you are in the school. So we randomly select a classroom, randomly select an area of the school, which is typically a classroom, bring the students into the hallway where we have that equipment set up in the hallway and conduct those searches. Those random selections are done by somebody in another department that has nothing to do with the random search program, because a key success factor for us is ensuring that it is completely random. It's a completely neutral selection process that helps ensure the integrity of the program, but also make sure that we comply with all of our legal and statutory requirements.
You mentioned detectors. Weapons detectors are also used at entry points of several of our high schools on a regular basis now. What do those systems detect, and why are school communities taking the lead in deciding if they want to use them instead of it being a district level decision?
There have been many technology enhancements over the years related to school safety, and one of those areas is in the areas of weapons detection. So a weapons detector is in essence a more sophisticated metal detector that is designed to ignore smaller items we may carry on a day-to-day basis, like keys and cell phones, and only alert on what we call weapons of mass casualty, which are pretty much firearms. And so schools and discussions with their school staff and their communities have elected to deploy weapons detectors on either a full-time basis or on certain days where every student entering the school goes through that weapons detector and gets screened for weapons. Again, that just increases the chance that we detect an item coming in, but ultimately deter somebody from bringing an item into the school. Now, I mentioned the random search program. We're looking for all sorts of contraband. We're looking for weapons, drugs, vape materials, alcohol. Weapons detectors are solely focused on firearms and what's coming into the school from a firearm perspective. And so every high school still gets random searches. They're still part of the random search program, but schools and their communities can choose to use weapons detectors on either a full-time or part-time basis.
Another big talker in the 25-26 school year, staff members throughout CCSD, including classroom teachers, will have what is known as a panic button device. The measure received a lot of notoriety in that unfortunate incident in a high school in Georgia in September of 2024 because it shortened the response time. How is this being employed in CCSD?
As I mentioned, we're always looking to enhance the school safety program in CCSD, and a part of that process is not only engaging with stakeholder groups to determine what we can do better, but also to learn from incidents that happen around the country. A part of that process has identified a wearable panic button solution as an enhancement that can be employed in CCSD, and we will be doing so during the 25-26 school year. CCSD is partnering with a company called Centegix to provide a wearable panic button to every staff member in CCSD. And that panic button, which is similar in form to an ID badge, which we've worn around your neck behind the ID badge, will give staff members the ability to initiate two different types of alerts. The first type of alert is a staff assist alert, where staff members can request assistance from another employee or another adult in the building for things such as a student behavior issue or a fight in the hallway or a medical emergency. And that's the alert we expect to be used more regularly in our school campuses. The second type of alert is a lockdown alert. And so today in CCSD, if a staff member sees something that warrants the initiation of what we call a lockdown, a staff member is empowered to initiate that lockdown on their own. And today they're doing that by calling the front office on the telephone, by pushing a PA button in their classroom, or by using a two-way radio. This wearable panic button will allow them to initiate that lockdown immediately without having to engage with anybody else, which will then send the message across the campus that they need to lock down. Additionally, that message will go to our 911 center in Charleston County, which can then begin sending response assets to the school as well.
So related to that situation in Georgia was that 2 to 3 week period right after where we were receiving threats of violence. Schools and school districts throughout the country faced it, and CCSD was not immune. Many of our school communities were impacted, whether it was a vague bomb threat called into a school, a student saying something, passing in the hallway, a threat circulating on social media. Can you outline the steps we take to address these and reassure our families, students, and staff that every time that your office is made aware of one, you take action?
Our security operation is a 24-hour-a-day operation. We run a 24/7 security operations center out of our office in North Charleston. We have personnel who are working 24/7, and then we also have security administrators like myself who are on call 24 hours a day. Regardless of how we receive information about a potential threat against a school, we take action on it immediately, even in the middle of the night. And that typically involves engaging law enforcement immediately. We are responding to people's homes. We are talking to people in person to help gather that information to help us assess whether or not there is a threat against a school. That process is not meant to determine if a threat was made, because oftentimes we know that very easily. The process is designed to determine whether a threat is posed. So that assessment helps us determine if this individual who may have said something is actually contemplating a threat or contemplating doing something that would cause harm to others. And if so, how do we intervene to keep that person from continuing down that path toward violence? We make that determination using an assessment process that is in line with the state of South Carolina guidelines for school threat assessment, that's based on the best practices developed by the U.S. Secret Service to determine not only whether a threat is posed, but what intervention and management strategies need to be used moving forward.
You know, you mentioned a couple questions ago, secure. That's part of our standard response protocol, or the SRP. You have a term like secure, you have hold, evacuate, shelter, and then the most serious one, which you referenced, lockdown. Can you review those terms, what they mean, and why the SRP is so important for everyone involved in our system to know and understand?
The standard response protocol was adopted several years ago in CCSD to provide our students, staff, and even visitors with plain language instructions for what to do during an incident on or around the campus that requires a response from everybody in the building. Typically, if you remember way back when, we use color codes, code red, code yellow, code green. And again, a part of our evolution and enhancement process is to replace those codes that if you weren't trained, you didn't know what they meant, to replace those with plain language where everybody could understand what needed to happen. And so each standard response protocol response is followed by action terms, which will tell you what to do. So there are 5 terms, and those include hold, which means hold in your room or area, clear the halls. Secure, get inside, lock outside doors. Shelter for a certain hazard and safety strategy. Evacuate to a stated area. And finally, lockdown, locks lights out of sight. The SRP is developed by an organization called the I Love You Guys Foundation. It is a nonprofit that provides school districts across the country with best practices and systems that can be employed. And so the SRP system used by our district is used by, I would say, hundreds, if not thousands of other districts in the country, and provides a standard language for us to use in communicating what's happening in our school buildings.
Michael, I would think, though, that our parents, our students, community members can also help in the sharing of information. So if they hear of something, if they see something on social media related to a threat, regardless of whether they think it's real or not, what should they do?
The mantra, see something, say something, is critical in this case. And the important part of that is if you see something, say something to somebody who can do something about it directly. And so we want to make sure we're making phone calls to speak with people live. Emails aren't always answered or seen in a timely manner, especially after hours. So call our District Security Operations Center. Call your school administrator directly if it's during the school day. Even call our 911 center to have police engaged immediately in that action. Regardless, we want that information to be shared directly with those who can look into the threat. What we want to avoid is posting rumors on social media, posting information that's unverified, because that then creates panic and ultimately makes an investigation even more difficult.
And Michael, I know we could probably talk for hours about all the measures that we have in place, and that's great because that means your guys' program is thorough. But for the final one we're going to address in this video is how our school security officer program supplements our school resource officer program and what the differences are between an SSO and the more commonly termed known as the SRO.
Yeah, so CCSD has a desire for every campus to have a full-time security presence when students are in session. And so we have historically used school resource officers and continue to do so. Those SROs are sworn police officers employed by our local law enforcement agencies who work on a school campus to ensure that the campus remains safe from threats. They work with students informally to mediate and provide counseling on an informal basis, then also provide law-related education. Unfortunately, because of law enforcement staffing constraints, we're not able to get an SRO for every single campus across the county. And so to supplement that SRO staffing, we have engaged with private security officers to create this school security officer program, which provides an armed security presence on those campuses that do not have SROs. And those school security officers are there solely for that purpose of campus protection. So they're not doing the student engagement like SROs are doing. They're strictly there for physical security. And you typically only see SSOs in elementary schools where we've had difficulty getting SRO coverage. Those SSOs, the school district has established the baseline requirements and qualifications for those, which exceed what state law requires, because we want to make sure that we have the best candidates, the best individuals with a great work history and great training and experience to be there to protect our students.
Well, again, mentioned earlier, could talk a lot more about school security and what your office does. For the full thorough list, though, of what's done to keep our schools prepared, where can parents, guardians, community members go to learn more?
Our website is a great resource, www.ccsdschools.com/security. Again, that's ccsdschools.com/security. On the site, anybody in the public can find information on our campus security measures, different pieces of our program and more details. Now, there are details that we do not share publicly because we want them to be most impactful to ensure the safety of our campuses, but the website gives you a great overview of the campus safety program.
Well, Michael, we can't thank you enough for talking on this subject, and we appreciate what you and your team does for Charleston County School District, and we hope everyone watching has learned something and feels more informed. Until next time, take care, and thanks for watching CCSD 101.